Welcome everyone, you're watching Sunao. I'm Nashra.
I'm Aisha.
And today we have Sir Kamran Abdul Salam joining us today. Sir, how are you?
I'm good, and thank you very much for the invitation and in your program Sunao.
It's our pleasure, sir.
Sir, सुनाए.
और ये सुनाऊं कि there are a lot of things to be shared. I mean, how the global paradigms have changed, how methodologies have changed, how we are actually passing through this phase of learning, of course, challenges. And challenges, of course, have brought many opportunities to learn actually. So we are all learning at this point of time.
Sir, I just feel like the last 7 months, they were like this fever dream that I have no idea of what happened.
Yeah.
We just went home on this Thursday of February 28th
and then we never returned. You know, we anticipated कि 2 दिन की छुट्टी है, we were having fun with it, but then it just turned into 7 months of no human interaction whatsoever.
Absolutely. Actually, I was also thinking the other day that since, I mean, we have a huge global interconnection, of course, the world has become a globalized place. So definitely the risks are also connected as well. We could not have said to COVID-19 to stay at the borders and you're not allowed to just step into our horizons in our country, of course. So basically, because of this interconnection, we had to suffer each and everything because the shock, the utter shock, this COVID-19 has spread, of course. I mean, globally, and we are still, of course, trying to recover. No matter what the numbers speak, but the later part, the economic impact, and the effects, of course. I mean, the global recession, of course.
Everything has changed.
Everything
and especially for a country like Pakistan, where we already are, predominantly struggling to progress with our economy, and our population being majority of them being below the poverty line.
Absolutely.
And then Corona came in with this whole 7-month period, and it just it was a final nail in the coffin for us to go into recession.
Yeah. So, I mean, every aspect basically. I mean, the few have really flourished. I mean, more than they could ever imagine over for decades, I believe. And for instance, the health care services, right? And perhaps maybe the construction industry. But mostly apart from that, people have suffered actually. किसी को अंदाजा नहीं था कि इतना लंबा prolonged एक lockdown आएगा. People will of course have no incomes to generate. They won't be spending money.
But I think that apart from the suffering, we did see this boom in entrepreneurship. People were forced to create new ideas, and
especially for I think job takers, this period was of very high uncertainty because just for instance, you are a teacher, you know very well that fear you have कि कल पता नहीं क्या होगा, job मिलेगी, रहेगी नहीं होगी.
Absolutely.
And this entire paradigm shift that we have spoken of.
True. And especially, I'm sorry to cut you, it was a time for us to realize that even if you place reliance on your single income head, so that was actually even riskier, right? You could not have even ever imagined कि आप अपनी जो future के अंदर income stream है वो सिर्फ किसी एक set के ऊपर आप rely करें. You have to have multiple skills, of course. You have to have multiple sources of income, right? अगर एक जगह से problem आ रही है तो चलो cross subsidization हो, दूसरी जगह से आपको एक availability हो सके income की. Now that was the first part, of course. And the new learning paradigms, of course.
Yes,
even
of course.
I still remember the day when I was teaching one of the topics, and I actually realized and I was not using that modern technology, and I actually felt myself totally
out of your comfort zone.
No, it was actually I felt actually helpless altogether. I couldn't do anything. मुझे बच्चे को एक चीज़ explain करनी है और मैं लिखूँ मैं कैसे उसको बताऊँ. Then I actually started talking to people, and then they advised me to go for the technologically advanced gadgets, right? And I had to, of course, not only buy that stuff, right, the technologically advanced setup for teaching. I actually had to learn new skills, and my students, they were actually on the front foot as well for when it comes to sir ये device अच्छी नहीं है, sir ये device अच्छी, sir ये application अच्छी नहीं है, आप ये वाली चीज़ सीखें. And after 2 months I could not actually believe that ये सारा काम मैं कर रहा हूँ. Especially yesterday when I was coming to this school and I actually missed out the time slot.
Right.
I was in
You were
Clifton.
taking your class in
Absolutely.
your car.
And I was in the car, right? I was moving. And the setup which was provided by the IT department here in the school, that was amazing actually.
Very special sound effects.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes,
The buses
all the
and
rickshawalas and the
rickshaws.
buses and
Even
everything.
in online classes, we would hear like "Thele wala."
Absolutely, yes.
And like the moment I would open my mic and then
Yeah.
पीछे से आवाज आती है अम्मी
Ice
की
cream
दही
वाला.
ले लें या कोई
yes,
खाना खा लें
yes, yes. So I mean you're right of course कि I mean these difficult times definitely मतलब वो जो इकबाल ने कहा ना कि जो बातें मुखालिफ चलती है that is of course to elevate your flight, वो आपको ऊंचा उड़ाने के लिए चलती है, वो आपकी फ्लाइट को लिफ्ट करने के लिए चलती है और ये सब की सब हमारे लिए definitely these were opportunities for us basically to adapt ourselves, to learn new skills and to consider the entire world as a single market and then of course learn new techniques to survive basically even no matter of course because this is the high time when I was speaking in the class as well and I normally give this lesson to everyone that there were times when we used to be taught about this traditional education कि आपको school physics chemistry biology math पढ़ना है and then we realized there was a professional education if you want to go in medicine you have to go for engineering and then of course this is the time when जितने leading entrepreneurs of the world speakers of the world, they are constantly emphasizing that if you guys, I mean teachers, the management, the schools, the universities, if these institutions fail to provide the sense to learn financial education, then how do you make money, you will actually end up with nothing basically. ये चीज़ हमें यहाँ से सीखनी होगी.
And we saw that. We saw that in these 7 months how
our survival was threatened.
Absolutely.
But I think that one thing that comes to mind when we talk about survival is that, I think you'll agree with me on this, is that at least we were privileged enough to adapt. लेकिन most of our population का मसला ही है that they do not have that kind of resources on them कि वो adapt कर सकें. जैसे for instance, you mentioned this point in class also and now कि आपने investment की, you bought this gadget, you bought that gadget. But the thing, even like all of us, we bought laptops and iPads and everything.
True.
But I think that that's not really an opportunity that everyone can avail.
Absolutely.
जैसे हमारी manual labor जो है, like maids वगैरह हैं, I mean their employment is highly dependent on social interaction.
Yeah.
तो ये कि हमारी इकोनॉमी इसीलिए रिसेशन में because we are like the mere 10%, बाकी 90% जो struggle कर रहे हैं, I don't think any of us can even imagine कि उनका कितना जो है वो कितना थ्रेट था उनके सर्वाइवल को.
बिकॉज अगेन वही वाली बात है कि ठीक है हम लोग अपने क्लासेस अपने घरों में बैठ के ऑनलाइन ले सक रहे थे. ठीक है हमारे घर में 4 बहन भाई हैं तो 4 लैपटॉप के लिए सोच लिया चलो ठीक है एक टैबलेट ले लिया. लेकिन एक गरीब आदमी है जिसका बच्चा लेट्स से बड़े एक एवरेज स्कूल एक बिलो एवरेज स्कूल में पढ़ रहा है 2000 3000 4000 उसकी फ़ी है राइट. तो ऑफ कोर्स दे फाउंड इट एक्सट्रीमली डिफिकल्ट टू आई मीन जस्ट कीप द मोमेंटम अलाइव राइट. दे डिडंट नो कि पता नहीं कब स्कूल खोलेंगे. And many of the people, of course, they could not even because of this lack of ability to survive, and they actually had to shut down as well. वो एक अलग मसला है, transition का मसला है. Universities के अंदर लोगों के admissions हुए हुए थे. They could actually because flight operations नहीं है, abandoned है, they could not actually reach out. They could not, of course, start their academic sessions. And of course, आपको online classes, no matter. I mean, it's not simply the technological problem. कि आपको net का problem है, जिसकी वजह से आपके communication का एक flaw आ रहा है. It's about the economic dependence as well, of course.
Right, of course.
Or
the investment that it takes to actually reach to that level.
So not everyone is privileged enough to have this affordability और वो इस चीज़ को कंटिन्यू कर सकें. एंड द सर्टेनिटीज स्टिल प्रिवेल टू दिस वेरी डे एक्चुअली.
आई मीन अभी भी हम यही बात सोच रहे होते हैं ना कि सेकेंड वेव आ गई तो व्हाट विल हैपन. जैसे अभी एएस के ग्रेड्स के साथ भी हुआ था कि वी डिडंट नो व्हाट वाज गोइंग टू हैपन एंड आवर टीचर्स वर एंग्शियस. हमें पता था बट वी वर मोर एंग्शियस बिकॉज वो आती है ना ग्रेड्स के बाद इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक हो जाती है वो बात.
I just felt like what I learned in these 7 months is that people felt this pressure to innovate.
Yes.
And
absolutely,
they were forced to innovate. And I just thought, why not have this pressure onto us all the time?
Absolutely.
We can benefit so much from it.
So true.
We were in like this state of denial pre-COVID कि like वो बात ही ना कि हम job takers बनना चाह रहे थे कि हम निकलेंगे यूनिवर्सिटी अंडरग्रेड होगा फिर हम जॉब कर लेंगे. But the thing is that like COVID really taught us the lesson कि भाई अगर आपके अंदर वो innovation और determination की drive नहीं है ना, then your survival will be threatened.
Absolutely.
If not now, then sometime in the future for sure.
Absolutely, and this is the greatest lesson, and this is the greatest message of this COVID actually, right? I mean, people, for the very first time, I believe I've seen this at different forums. Of course, I mean the top leading, I mean, speakers of Pakistan, they are actually trying to connect this e-commerce part, this, I mean, the enabler wala platform, and to the entrepreneurs that you can't, I mean, sit and relax. You can't wait for your A levels to get over, and then your universities, and then you finally your masters, and then you will be able to get into the job market. Now, economies and the pressures and the uncertainties will not wait for a very longer period of time. They will not actually. So we basically are forced to this very day. As I just had a lesson in my class, I was teaching one of my topics of the curriculum, and then I always prefer stopping in the in somewhere in the mid, and then I have to just get back to the topic of life actually. That you, no matter of course that whether boys or girls, we have this equal opportunity. Sit down, think about this very seriously, get people of your mindset, and of course start thinking about this for your future. That you of course have to get connected to Amazon, you have to find these, you have to step into these forums, and of course very luckily we have some very amazing people in Pakistan, right? And the founder members, of course, I mean the e-commerce and the enablers, and they're so much passionate to bring almost every member of the youth on board. And you should be able to start doing your business, and they teach us. If you can afford, fine, just go and complete this course. You can't find, the VBC courses are there, and people sitting in US, UK, worldwide, they are waiting for their virtual assistants, right? It's only that you have to give your dedication of mind. You have to be very serious. You have to keep your targets in mind. That 4 to 5 months, 6 months, and this is very much doable actually. I speak somewhere in some school, of course, in the morning, and then I happen to see the class established, all set, ready, and the ones who are already into this business, they actually start delivering the lectures, and people start getting the trainings because they know that the cost comparison for someone for looking for a VA, the virtual assistant, right? And it's very much affordable from Pakistan. Every one of us can do this. I mean, this is actually, I mean, this is not the grass on the other side. This is not simply okay, dur ke dhol suhane. It's not the suhane dhol. This is a very much real dhol basically.
Sir, but this is the kind of thing that us students don't know. I see, like, I look around in class and no one knows what you're talking about. Don't you think we don't have this entrepreneurial awareness?
I think it's a systemic problem with the curriculum and like our whole education industry. कि we are so limited, our entire knowledge is so limited to the book कि हम कभी उसको analyze और evaluate कर ही नहीं पाते कि हमें आगे करना ही क्या है. अभी भी like if I speak for myself or even Nashra, I think कि अभी A2 में आके हमें पता चला है कि अंडरग्रेड में कौन सी डिग्री परस्यू करनी. लाइक स्कूल के 11-12 साल होते हैं, बट बच्चे बिल्कुल ऐसे होते हैं जैसे वो घोड़े को वो नहीं लगा देते,
टनल विजन आ गया, बिल्कुल
विजन वाली बात आ जाती है कि बस ए ले आओ, फर्स्ट आ जाओ. बट वो जो पर्सनल और प्रोफेशनल स्किल्स होती हैं, प्रेजेंटेशन स्किल्स होती हैं, उनकी तो कोई बात ही नहीं होती.
I've seen you pay so much emphasis on the emotional intelligence that we study. But it's just a topic.
Yeah, so true actually. Of course we can exercise while we're just driving, while we're just moving on the road, while we're just standing in a queue, immigration की कोई line है airport में, किसी भी जगह we get so sophisticated, and of course we need to learn and keep these lessons, of course, of the great leaders of religiously बात करूँ, morally यहाँ पे बात करूँ. लेकिन एक point जो इंतहाई important है, as you just mentioned earlier. Now why actually I have changed my direction, that's just after seeing these challenges very keenly, and the ability to survive, and fortunately, very fortunately, जो लीडिंग पाकिस्तान के 2-3 स्पीकर्स हैं, राइट, उनके साथ ट्रैवल का मौका मिला, और जो मेरे टीचर मेरे मोहसिन सर कासिम अली शाह साहब, उन्होंने एक दफ़ा एक बात ही बताई, टीचर जब खुद कोई किताब नहीं पढ़ता, बच्चे को वो कैसे बताएगा कि किताब तुमने पढ़नी है. जब उसने पावर ऑफ पॉजिटिव थिंकिंग खुद नहीं पढ़ी, जब उसने 7 हैबिट्स खुद नहीं पढ़ी, उसने हु मूव्ड माय चीज़ नहीं पढ़ी, उसने उसने रिच डैड पुअर डैड उसने नहीं पढ़ी हुई, उसने why A graders work for C graders नहीं पढ़ी हुई, उसने द सीक्रेट नहीं पढ़ी हुई, रोंडा बर्न को अगर वो जानता तो उसको इमेजिनेशन की पावर कैसे पता चलेगी, पॉजिटिव थिंकिंग उसको कैसे पता चलेगी, वो तो शायद सारी ज़िंदगी वो A+B² सिखाता रहेगा, वो मेरी तरह फॉर इंस्टेंस यूनिट 1 यूनिट 2 स्ट्रेटेजिक मैनेजमेंट पर ज़िंदगी उसकी गुजरेगी, एंड यू विल फेल टू रिफ्लेक्ट द रियलिटी ऑफ कोर्स व्हिच दे हैव टू फेस आफ्टर द स्कूल एंड द कॉलेज एंड द यूनिवर्सिटी लाइफ ऑफ कोर्स.
That's all I know.
दिस इज़ ऑफ कोर्स दिस इज़, एंड मैंने आपसे कहा ना मैंने अपनी डायरेक्शन क्यों चेंज की, मैंने अपनी डायरेक्शन मैंने उस वक्त मैंने चेंज की जब मैंने इन सब लोगों को मैंने पढ़ना शुरू किया, और फिर मैंने जब इसकी कुछ ऑनलाइन कोर्सेज अटेंड किए, मैंने कोई सर सलमान अहमद के साथ स्ट्रेटेजिक विजन की और स्कूल ऑफ लीडरशिप के कोर्सेज मैंने अटेंड किए, जब मैंने किए, और फिर मुझे इस चीज़ का आई रियलाइज ऑफ कोर्स, और फिर एलॉन मस्क की हम बात करते हैं, ब्रायन ट्रेसी की बात करते हैं, रिचर्ड ब्रांसन की बात करते हैं, दे ऑल स्पीक अबाउट द सेम थिंग. व्हाई डोंट स्कूल्स टीच अबाउट मेकिंग मनी स्किल्स? मनी मेकिंग स्किल्स क्यों नहीं बताते schools?
You've said in classes before कि if you think money, you talk money, then only you make money.
बिल्कुल, जी,
ये बात,
बिल्कुल,
when you said this the first time, I was actually in a state of shock कि ये बात मुझे आज तक किसी टीचर ने नहीं बताई. Like no other teacher sat down or had this conversation with us कि आप लोग पढ़ तो रहे हैं, अभी किताबों से बाहर भी तो निकले. Even in AS when I shifted to your class, because the show was going on and on with that Sir Kamran, he's so different and he's such a good teacher. I was like, okay, I have to be in your class. So then I started realizing आपके बात करने के तरीके से कि there is so much more to the world of students than just books.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our only question is what are we gonna do now?
Yes.
Because I don't think we have much time, do we? I mean, the economy is tanking and all that. We already know that, but
there's a lot we can do, of course. The first thing, of course, as I said, that you basically, first of all, you have to pass on this message. First of all, we need to develop the mindset.
We're doing that.
Right?
We will.
We have to set this direction. We need to have a very clear mindset. And that is, of course, not to support ourselves only, but we need to uplift others as well.
Yes.
Right?
That's how we grow as a
Definitely.
nation.
And once you get into this position, this state of mind, and when you try to assist others, definitely, Allah Almighty, definitely, He's going to just provide you endless rewards, worldly and of course hereafter as well. Number one. Number two is, as you mentioned earlier, that we have to stop thinking about one word, and that's the job. School, college, university खत्म हो जाएगी, job मिल जाएगी. We need to stop thinking about this. We need to start thinking about the business. मुझे काम करना है.
Be your own boss.
And of course be your own boss. Secondly, failures आएंगे.
what is a failure?
Failure, of course, whenever you don't get your desired results.
I've been meaning to ask that
right?
question.
When you don't get your desired results.
Isn't failure is entirely subjective to
Absolutely.
this
Because we should
social construction?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And वो कुछ किसी लोगों ने कहा ना कि failure is nothing but it's the first attempt in learning basically, right? It's the first attempt in learning, and that teaches you about that ये आपके गलतियाँ हुई, आपने दोबारा इसको नहीं करना बिल्कुल भी. And of course, whenever you analyze, whenever you just take the lessons and you move on, and then you won't ever be demoralized. Actually, this is the most important thing. And Nashra said कि what do we need to do right now? First of all, मैंने कहा mindset. जॉब नहीं करनी, काम करना है. माइंडसेट के लोग जमा करने हैं. फेलियर आएगा, डरना नहीं है. रिक्वायर्ड प्रॉफिट्स नहीं मिलेंगे, रिक्वायर्ड रेवेन्यूज नहीं मिलेंगे, रिजल्ट्स नहीं मिलेंगे, बट फाइन. नो, आई मीन ब्रांसन वो बात कहते हैं ना, द ब्यूटी ऑफ लाइफ इज कि you fall 7 times, you get up 8 and move on.
वही बात आती है ना कि हमारे since I've been going to school since I was 2.5 years old. वही बात आती थी हमेशा कि actually yes, that's factually correct. कि वही बात आती थी ना कि we are so scared of not getting the grade. We are so scared of failing that we don't even try anymore.
True.
ये बात आ जाती है ना कि if you stop making effort, तो how are you going to succeed or fail? वो तो बात की बात आती है ना.
जी. तो आखिरी बस मैं बात कर लूँ, और आखिरी बात तो सिर्फ ये है कि ये एक बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट आयशा ने यहाँ पे कहा कि ये नंबर्स वाली जो बात है ना, प्लीज़, आई मीन ये वी नीड टू कीप दिस फैक्टर असाइड, टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट. बेस्ट पार्ट, मैं नॉर्मली जब मेरे क्लास में असेसमेंट होते हैं ना, और मैं जब खुद अगर इन्विजिलेट कर रहा हूँ, मैं आखिरी बात सिर्फ मैं कर रहा हूँ, आई ऑलवेज राइट वन सेंटेंस ऑन द बोर्ड दैट आई डोंट वांट यू टू बी ऑन द टॉप ऑफ द लिस्ट. I don't want my class to be on the top of the list. I want you to be at your own best. खत्म हो गई बात. Whatever you did yesterday, आज उससे बेहतर करने की कोशिश करो. बेहतरीन रिजल्ट, बेहतरीन शॉट, बेहतरीन परफॉर्मेंस दो. numbers की रेस से बाहर निकला.
हमारा मसला ये कि हम comparative analysis दूसरों से हम करते हैं compare अपने आप को, rather than comparing ourselves to our previous efforts and our future efforts. हम दूसरों, and I think that promotes a very toxic way of looking at success.
It is a vicious cycle.
Yes.
Are you ever going to be satisfied with yourself?
I mean,
of course,
अभी हम ये सब बातें कर रहे हैं.
Self-actualization. But where is it?
But when I go home and I have to prepare for a test, so still I will want the highest marks in the class. Like even though I'm talking about all of this, and you're also saying that you don't have to be an A-star student, you don't have to get that A-star, but I'll still aim towards it.
True.
I think this was a very engaging conversation.
Thank you, Nisha.
Thank
you very much. Thank you very much.
And
thank
I think
you,
we learned a lot.
Yes.
And I really hope, inshallah, whatever mess, of course, now we, of course, have to be on the learning side, of course, as well, all the time. Jo seekhe aage pass kare, jo seekhe aage pass kare.
Yes.
And this is, of course, I mean, harmony can prevail all the time, inshallah.
I think that brings us to the end of our discussion today. We will see you next time. Until then, Allah Hafiz.
Thank you very much. Thank you.